Get your feet happy. Let's go. Come on.
You're muted. Can't hear your music.
Come on, Jehovah's here. Jehovah, you. Say it. I trust in you. Say it, y'all. Oh Lord, Jehovah, you. I trust. Say it. I trust. Tell me how to do it, y'all. In you. I believe. Say it. Say it. I believe you. I trust. Come on. In you. Oh Lord, Jehovah, you. Where y'all at? Come on. I trust in you. I believe. Say it. I believe. You are the God of miracles. You are the God of miracles. You are the God of wonder. You are the God of wonder. You are the God of power. I believe. Say it. I believe.
Come on, Dr. Brian.
I believe.
I can't hear you. You have the most beautiful voice on the radio, but I still can't hear you.
Come on, let your feet get heavy. Let's go. Come on. Somebody make some noise in here. Come on, catch it, Jehovah. I trust in you. Oh Lord, say it. Oh Lord, Jehovah, you. I trust in you. I believe. Say it. Everybody say it. I believe you. I trust in you. Oh Lord, Jehovah, you. I can't hear you. Come on, say it. I trust. Say it. In you. I believe. Say it. I believe. You are the God of miracles. You are the God of wonder. You are the God of wonder. You are the God of power. Say it. I believe. Say it. I believe. Everybody get ready.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Village Talk Show. I am Roderick Daly, right here on the Village, hanging out in a nice little state called Rhode Island. It's a very small state. Yesterday, we're celebrating the wife's birthday. So, welcome to the Village, everyone. Dr. Bryant, how are you today?
I'm doing great. And you?
I'm doing okay, A lot of things going on, but let me just tell everyone good afternoon and welcome to the Village, where we are dedicated to empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life through education. Helping each one of us in realizing our dreams at any point, at any time, at any age, starting from today. Success is not just spoken, it is done. You could catch the Village Talk Show on www.gdradio.org, 92.1 FM, GD Radio, Radio for Jamaica, Florida, and the Bronx. You can catch it on my Facebook page at Roderick F. Daly, Dr. Bryant, The Village on Facebook at Empowering the Village, and on YouTube at The Village Talk Show, and on Tawana St. Paul. Welcome to another Thursday afternoon. So
Months. Hi. Wow. The year's gone by quickly.
yes.
How many more months? Oh God.
This is your first week off from school. Welcome everyone who's joined us on Facebook, on YouTube. This is your first week off from school.
Yes, it is.
What did you do yesterday?
I work.
Oh, so you're not off.
No, I'm not off.
I'll say the rec center is still open. Or you work for this because you work this week? Are you working per session? What is it?
I'll talk to you off air.
I hear you. I hear you, big wig. So when am I getting some of that money? That's all I need to know. No, I like your glasses.
Anyway,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
keeps
One of the things, my audience keep telling me that you need to lighten up, man. Everybody tell me you just like anyway, dismiss that subject, move on to the next. They tell me you got to lighten up a little bit. They keep telling me that. They said, Joanne, she got to lighten up. They tell me, they said, no, you got to lighten up. The audience wants to see the side of you that I know. They don't want to see the stiff side right here.
it's okay. I'll be
No,
still.
now stop being stiff, man.
I will be still.
Yeah, you need
Okay.
to cut it out. You want to hear something funny about this coffee? So I went out, ladies and gentlemen. I'm at the hotel in the lobby, and so I went to the coffee machine, right, to get the coffee. So I'm thinking in my mind, this is the first time I've actually gone to a hotel where I had to pay to get a cup of coffee. Usually, they have coffee for guests, right? So I paid $1.25 for the coffee. And when I paid $1.25 for the coffee, I thought it was like one of those things where it automatically dispense the cup.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, all the coffee's coming right down in the cup like an idiot onto the ground and making a mess. So then I tried to push the cup there, but anyway, I went back and I got the cup. So that's my coffee. So what's going on in the news? There are a few things that happened. One thing I think I want to start off. I want to start off the show by extending our deepest condolences to all of those people in Miami, Florida, who unfortunately succumbed to that terrible building thing from what is it, last week or the week before? Last week,
Last week.
and we're just still looking for bodies. And I think the death total as of yesterday, I've been traveling all day and I really didn't hear, but as of yesterday, the death total was up to 18. I don't know what's the change. And we have any change? Do you know the numbers today or no?
I didn't really look, but it was 18 when I heard earlier today.
Yeah. So,
So,
you know,
I did notice that the president did go and visit the families of
mhm.
those who were there. But my problem with this is, why did they wait so late to send extra help to try to get people out? Why wait a week later to say, hey, we're going to send extra help? Why not do it day one or day two? Okay, a building crash, there's people stuck, over 100 and something individuals stuck underground. Why don't you send all your hope out there to help? Not a week later to say, hey, we're still keeping hope and we're still helping. At that point, I'm fed up, because as a family member, if I was a family member, I'd be like, why bother now? It's a whole week later. So the urgency, I feel, um they were slow to respond with the urgency. Yes, some people were there, but to say, hey, now we're gonna send people from Jersey to try to help, please.
I totally, I respect that. I respect that thought. I feel like, it's a crisis, right? So it's a crisis all around. I think, is my background too loud? Yeah, it is, right? In
Absolutely.
a couple of seconds, I'm gonna probably try to go into the business center because you're right, it is really loud. Um, it's really loud where I am, and my battery is actually very low too. But it really is sad. And they were telling there were water issues in the foundation, about everything that's going on. I saw that the death of the found the 92-year-old woman, who had her rosaries there, so she was praying. The 4-year-old, the 10-year-old among among the what is among the bodies. And now it's actually really, it's about recovery of
Bye.
corpse, because and again, like I said last week, it really reminds
Yeah, of September.
me of 9/11.
Hmm. And as we talk about it, it's very, very emotional.
Yeah.
Um, to think about, hey, you're sleeping and not knowing, hey, you're sleeping and you're trusting that everything's okay,
Mm-hmm.
only to learn that that might be your last day.
Not might be, not might be, Because if you falling from 10 stories in the middle of your sleep and you waking up falling in 10 stories, that's it. For the most part, unless you're falling on top of other people, you're on your bed, but other things are falling on top of you. So that's crazy.
Um,
It's sad. And also in Brooklyn on Utica Avenue earlier this week, that two young men, I think it was Monday night, driving on Utica Avenue, who actually, the news said that they collided with a pole, that they were crashed with a pole. I was like, well, the pole wasn't moving, but they collided into a pole. The two young men, they showed the video, and they really didn't stand a chance in the video when
on Clarendon,
no, it's happened on Farragut. It
yeah,
happened in
I
Utica between
saw. I
Farragut,
saw.
and Foster.
Yeah, when I was driving by, I did see how they shut down the street.
Yeah.
Monday, I don't know what was wrong with people, but there was plenty of accidents on Monday. Unfortunately, the sad thing is school let out for kids. Yes, it was hot, but to the point where we're careless. I think, especially a holiday weekend, people need to be more careful and more.
Yeah. I really didn't want to pass any judgment on it. That's not my job. But
No,
as
I'm not saying. No, I'm not
no,
saying that.
no. I didn't say you were passing judgment. I'm talking about me from my own personal perspective. That's what I'm talking about. That they showed the video of the young man who was driving, speeding through the bus lane.
Oh,
Right. Now, and there's some other left. Somebody was making like a left turn or right turn or something of the sort that caused some of the issues that were happening,
yeah.
right? And so it was just really kind of crazy, in the whole situation. Two young men in their 20s, who both passed away. That I found out later that they both died from this accident. It's actually the second horrific accident that I know about within the last 10 years, on Utica Avenue. Um, um, that happened on Utica Avenue. One of them actually happened right in front of Dennis Shipping, right in front of, um, the tire shop where the young man, again, interesting, but another man driving a BMW where the young man, speeding, lost control about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, collided again into a pole right there, Clarendon, a couple years ago. So, ladies and gentlemen, one of the things, I don't know the full details of the accident, right? I don't know the full details of the accident, but I'm telling everyone, especially in local streets, you don't show off with the cars. Don't you shouldn't be speeding at astronomical levels. I mean, most of us, let's not say all, some of us drive too slow, but most of us do 35, 40. But on Utica Avenue, you shouldn't be going 50 miles an hour. I don't care what you drive. I don't care what time of night you drive. First of all, in New York City, they're more about charging you with these stupid cameras than anything else, right?
Okay.
And so people, we got to be careful out there.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming blame, not giving fault, but at the end of the day, you knew that the young men were speeding because you saw it on camera. They weren't driving normal. They weren't doing no less than 50, 60,
Mm, mm.
and
Well,
in the bus lane at that. So let's be careful. Another death in the news: Donald Rumsfeld, 88, passed away. Full circle, was chief of staff to Gerald Ford in the 1970s, and later became
mhm,
uh, the defense secretary,
mhm.
and then under then President George Bush in 2000, He became again, the defense secretary. He's passed away at age 88. So
Mhm.
our condolences goes out to his family as well on his passing.
On another note, on former presidents, your former president, um, company, and CFO was indicted today.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you say our former president? Because did you say our former president? I didn't hear you. Our? Was our or yours? Yeah, I'm listening. He was not indicted. Oh, his company, yes, and his
Yes,
CFO.
yes. So he feels that he's being attacked. Constantly, the Democrats are out to get him, out to get him. What's interesting about that is the CFO brother-in-law who turned him in.
That is really, it's really, really loud. I wonder
Yes,
if I could go to the business center for a minute. All right, let's just stick around. So, you know, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, whether or not they're going after him, I feel sorry for him. And the reason why I feel sorry for him is because whatever is happening can be happening to anyone. Once you become public, you are public.
that is true.
And that's why a lot of people don't want to run for office, right? Because at the end of the day, you allow yourself to be scrutinized, and depending on who's there, they could turn a blind eye, right? Um, so is it a good thing or a bad thing? I have no idea. I cannot speak to it. But right now,
When
what I am upset about though is the robbery of the middle class, right? Right? Is the robbery of the middle class that causes me the most anguish. Anybody who's in the middle class, they have to pay for the
yeah,
rich and they have to pay for the poor. And I think that's unfair. That's where my issue comes in. So whether or not he's president of the United States or he's riding on the backs of the middle class, and we are the ones suffering. Whether you're Democrat or Republican, whether you're independent, Green Party, Libertarian, whatever you belong to, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, for all I care. Once you're middle class, you feel the most burden from taxes and all the
especially the new
things.
tax law that was just implemented. I wish they would take a look at that and reverse and make changes to that because that's so necessary. Um,
I was looking at something the other day, right?
mhm.
That there are 56.1 million millionaires in the world, right? Approximately 1% of the world population is a millionaire.
And how many are blacks?
Well, I didn't go through that yet. Well,
Okay.
not many blacks. I know that because I discussed a few shows back. I did millionaires, not billionaires. I'm talking about millionaires. There are quite a few,
Hmm.
maybe about 10% or more that are black. When you talk about billionaires now, you have less than 0.01% of all billionaires are black. But millionaires, you have a few. And and by the way, millionaire meaning that they're earning
Of
more
course.
than $1 million, right? Not that you're worth more than $1 million, because if you look at that case, then they're a lot more than that. Um, and in the United States, between the United States, China, and Germany, that's where, so 50% of all millionaires are in the United States. So we have the most amount of millionaire. And then when you look at poverty, we're also pretty high. That means so who's the one paying for this? And that's again goes right back to the middle class. And again, whether you're black, white, Chinese, or any other type of person,
Hmm.
you're the one suffering. Because they're numerically, not percentage wise, but numerically, there are more whites that are poor than blacks. More of them are on welfare than blacks. So sometimes people always talk, oh, black people are on welfare. No, the majority of people on welfare are not black. Maybe percentage wise, a high percentage, but
You're
definitely not the raw numbers. So some people really need to look at that. So it's a very sad state that we're in.
But you know what? What you just said, you're right about the fact that a good portion of poor people are not black, but who they used to portray being on the welfare or anything else are us, unfortunately.
Right. You, you know, sometimes people like to denigrate blacks in terms of poverty. But if you travel to some states in the United States,
Hmm.
you will see poverty, the trailer homes. Sometimes I think sometimes a lot of people just think maybe, oh, you know what, I'm better than this person, better than that. No, you're not. Because if you can't pay for medicine, it don't matter what color you are. Can't pay for food, can't pay rent, it don't matter what color you are. If your children are going to is if your children are going to bad schools, color doesn't matter. So sometimes people make it about color. It ain't about color. It is about color. It's about the color green, right? So people really need to look at that and see what's going on. So
So the good thing about today, our guest is going to talk about ways that people can invest,
mhm,
ways that people can actually try to get out of poverty and take a chance
yeah.
and protect themselves overall financially. And that's important.
And what's so good about that too is that it's a young person,
Yeah.
right? Because our guest is a young person. Those of you out there is former Ma 11 student as well. We're gonna get back to that, but there are a couple of things going on. The election, as well. We're gonna get right back to that. So make sure we keep track of time, and
Now,
then
I have a problem with the whole election thing.
ah,
Because
wait. Did you just get animated? I can't believe that the hand is. For a second, that the hand moved off the head.
yeah.
Oh man, go ahead. What happened? What's the problem with it?
You know what? Um, who to trust now?
Huh?
The whole system, this is gonna be the best system ever around, the choice, blah blah blah. And it's a crack of garbage because they can't figure it out. Mistakes already from point one. I don't like the fact that people are eliminated right away, but I guess that's what they wanted. Mr. Daly, keep
Yes.
focused. Keep focused, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. It creates a lot of confusion,
Mhm.
and it's the process is taking too long.
Yeah.
That's what it is. First, people found out that Maya Wiley was in second place, and now it's Catherine Garcia. The lead is down to like 16,000 for the mayoral race. That's here in New York City. Um, the mayoral race, that's a little bit on the crazy side. Now Catherine Garcia is in second. So you know what I have a question for though, which I don't have. That was John was here to answer. But
Where is he?
oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, those of you joining us on Facebook, if you got some of the things, there is a blackout in some parts of Brooklyn, and it happens to be where the studio is. So John was in the studio
Uh,
to join us in the studio, but you know, but what happened is that he left the studio. So now we're trying to work that out. Um, I wish he was here to answer that. Hopefully, he was able to answer it. But you're not going to find out until today's July 1st, right? Today's July 1st, right?
it's mid July.
I think it's July 12th.
You will find, yes, you will find.
So if we look at it, next week is the 8th. So you're not going to find out until the following Tuesday, right? Or Sunday, something like that, to find out who actually won the primaries. But I know that according to the first round, first two initial push,
But they're
Eric
close.
Adams is still in there. Antonio Ginoso in Brooklyn. I was trying to figure out who's in Staten Island, but I don't do that. Oh, I don't want to
Queen,
forget
Queens.
Queens, Elizabeth Crawley. No, Donovan Richards is still still up.
He's the lead. Okay, good.
Yeah, and then the Bronx is still Vanessa Gibson. And then there's certain local races that are going to be affected by that. I want to send out two congratulations before I forget. One is congratulations to Jermaine Cameron. He had his first graduation from his school earlier
Oh,
this week. Yeah,
great. Congratulations.
so his first class graduate.
Woo.
Um, right. Right. So he was so he had his first class. One kid actually won a $10,000 scholarship. The valedictorian gave a superb valedictory speech.
Can you explain to our listeners what type of school?
So he goes to he's the principal of a 6 or 12 all boys school in Staten Island, and so he was the founding principal in 2014 when the school opened up. In 2013, he started the assignment of the school, and in 2014 officially opened up. And so now he has expanded. So great for him. Also, want to second congratulatory thing is to wish my wife a happy birthday.
Absolutely.
As her birthday was yesterday, so today the twin boys took her out for took her away for her birthday as a birthday present. So that was cool. So I want to wish them happy birthday. Dennis just remind us the accident on Utica Avenue was in 2013. As a matter of fact, it was 2013 around this time. Actually, maybe early July when it happened, 2013. So with the young man with a BMW. What else? What else is going on in the news? We talk about the politics. We talk about
Cosby coming out. That was a big thing
Bill
yesterday.
Cosby. Yes, Bill Cosby came out yesterday. But you know what's a lot of people are to send out the WhatsApp picture of Bill Cosby coming out of jail, and then R. Kelly is in his jail cell looking at him through the window to see him come out. Right.
I can't.
Right. What do you mean by phone,
Okay.
Dennis? What do you mean by phone? I see you put phone there. Are you saying the persons were on the phone? Are you saying something wrong with the phone? Explain a little bit more what you mean by phone.
So the problem I have with Bill Cosby's verdict is the fact
The verdict or the over? Which verdict? This one or
overall,
this one?
no, just overall. They knew he should not have been trial. They made an arrangement, but still yet they decided to pursue it. Now, was it pressure that caused them to ignore the first agreement that was made, or was it just something else? What do you
Right.
think?
I personally believe that it's twofold, right? So it's a touchy subject, right?
Mhm.
When you
Very,
say something, if you're on either side, you're gonna offend somebody, right?
absolutely, and you gotta be very careful. Very,
Yeah.
very careful.
So if you say something that he was unfairly tried, you're gonna have a bunch of women who are gonna call in and say, not just women, a lot of men are gonna call in and say, "Oh, he deserved it." And then if you say something on the other side, you're gonna hear a bunch of men that says, "Oh, these are grown women. It's not like it was forcible rape, right? Or whatever the case is, or those things." And then,
Rape is rape.
right, right. No, I'm not saying yes or no to. I'm not saying yes or no to either one, right? I'm not speaking on behalf of left or right. I'm just saying it's a very touchy subject because on this particular subject, if you're on the left, people want you to choose their side. If you're on the right, people want you to choose their side. But at
No
the
one.
end of the day, what I look at sometimes is like it was overturned because he was railroaded
Mhm.
into
That
what
I
happened.
have to agree. That I have to agree to.
That's why it was overturned. So the question becomes: he did serve 2 years in jail. Are they going to really redo the trial?
They
Right?
can't.
Are they going to redo the trial because
They
they gave him
cannot.
3 to 10?
They
Right?
cannot.
All right. Yeah, they can. They
No,
can.
they can't.
They can. It wasn't that. It was not that he was. It was overturned, and he was not guilty. It was overturned on technicality.
Based on an agreement that was made. Oh, perfect timing, John. I'm so excited that you're on.
Oh
So,
shit. I'm
You on
sorry.
camera,
I'm
John?
sorry. I apologize. I apologize.
so Bill Cosby, we're talking about. So Roderick is saying he could be trialed again. I said he
Bill, Co-
can't.
Bill Cosby, according to the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, the Bill Cosby cannot be tried again on those charges.
Okay.
Okay, but other people can come forward and charge him again.
People can come forward, but remember the statute of limitation has expired on them.
Okay, so it's only that one for 10 years ago.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so therefore he's a free man as of this moment.
Bill Cosby is a free man, and he should have never been found. First of all, one, and the Supreme Court, it came down to really basic contract law, because he said the prosecutor entered into an agreement, although not written. There was consideration, and there was quid pro quo, because in exchange for Bill Cosby to take part in a civil action to resolve a civil matter, he gave up his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. They told him they didn't have enough evidence to prosecute them. At that point in time, Bill Cosby just said, okay, prosecute, do what you got to do. You don't have enough evidence. But he says, in exchange for that that non-prosecution, I will waive my Fifth Amendment right. He waived his Fifth Amendment right and went to do civil cases and basically said what he said because he had no fear of criminal prosecution. That was one point. There was an agreement. There was what we call a promissory estoppel, and as a result, you cannot then later on say, forget that agreement. I'm going to prosecute you anyway. I already gave up my right. I already gave my consideration, and you can't renege. And the second issue was it was overtly prejudicial to allow those women, that number of women, to testify. It was maybe one, but to let five people basically, it wasn't basically what they're trying to say. What you, her case alone was not enough to convict him. However, they added all these other incidents, and at that point in time, they said it was overtly prejudicial.
Okay, what does that mean, overtly prejudicial, for our audience who are not you guys on these terms? The teacher always comes out in me, right?
Well, basically, what it's saying is that there's due process rights, and you don't want to compound something to the extent that it's so prejudicial, it becomes overwhelming, that to the point where people will look past the basic rule, and because of the volume of it, they're saying, well, based upon that, I will find them guilty.
Because he probably did do it.
What they're saying is there's a probability that he will do it.
So I have
There's
a
a
question for
higher,
you.
the more incidents increases the high probability that he did it.
So let me ask you another question. Why took them so long? 2 years.
No, it's the appeal process. Remember, it was the lower court. You had to go to the appellate court, and then you had to go to Supreme Court.
But then they didn't release him while they were appealing the charges.
No, but then no, he asked. They didn't. They did not stay his incarceration. They did not stay his incarceration pending the appeal. They
Can
didn't
he
do that.
sue?
No, why would Bill Cosby sue? I'm a free man. I'm not suing.
They're mentioning that they're going to actually do that.
I mean, if I was Bill Cosby's lawyer, I would take this and I would go, and you wouldn't hear from me again.
That's what you. Okay, interesting. Kelly, R. Kelly's also pretty much in the same boat.
But R. Kelly's in the same boat, but
But
now they
different
won't.
situation.
Different situation because he hasn't been tried yet.
But he's been incarcerated for a while, right? He's been
been
incarcerated.
incarcerated. Of course, they're going to incarcerate you. They do that so you can force you to take a deal.
Yeah, and he just got a new charge. Andre, let me know if I move for a moment whether or not the control, are you in control or me from where I am, because so I could switch a little bit because I know the the background is still noisy and I'm in a public area. So Andre, just let me know that, and then we'll follow up from there, right? Um, no, okay, all right, cool. So going back, so that I R. Kelly is like a little bit different situation for me. Um, I don't know what to say about that, but for him, it's like statutory rape. The
Let's
other one,
talk
the other
about
one,
R.
the other
Kelly.
one, a grown woman,
Yeah.
which is a little bit different. I mean, like I said, you can't win with other side you take. But one thing I do tell my sons, I'm very clear with my sons and my female friends. I don't want to hear that you went to a dude's house sometime at night expecting to play poker. That's unrealistic. Not in the world you live in.
Hey
Especially
man, you been to somebody's house late playing poker. So what are you talking about?
never, never.
Don't let me
Playing
start it, cause you
dominoes
know I
maybe.
know.
Playing
You know I
dominoes
know.
maybe. Playing
You
dominoes maybe, but not poker.
you know I know.
Play domino kumbaya, man, but not poker.
Yeah, you
I
know
gotta,
I know, man. All right, all
so
right.
I told my boys, I told my boys, be careful, especially these young men, because sometimes these young men think one way and the ladies think another, and they don't. It's like, oh, why are you here? And they gotta hear. They don't understand. It has to be a yes, a yes. Um, let's get back to that subject. Um, let's get back to that if we have some time at the end. Let's go back to what we're talking about, Joanne, about the financial push that we were talking about, especially for people. And John, we were talking about on a regular basis. Um, what is it called? Generational wealth, right? And what it's like to leave something for your children to create a change. And why is that important? A lot of people are selfish and don't believe in generational wealth. If I could have made it, why should I do something to make it?
Well,
Right?
you know what? I have to jump there. Jump in because I don't think some people are selfish, but some people just are not educated in ways to
But but but
being ignorant to the fact on
but
how.
some people don't want to be. That's the issue because they have a radio show like this and they're still not making any
But
changes.
still, yet, guess what? We're here to actually teach people, to show people different ways, and that's it. So exposing people to different ways of generational wealth is one thing. Um,
You're also creating your own wealth too, not just generation.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And making sure, so I wouldn't say it's they don't want to. Some people,
Now,
being
obviously,
spiteful and
obviously,
mean and wicked. I know a couple, but the fact is you want to leave something behind for your children, for your community, not only for your children, but for leave a legacy. That's
yeah,
important.
yeah.
Legacy is so
Obviously,
important.
you know what? It's kind of interesting, and John, you could jump in here. I believe that if you believe in it, right, right. If you believe in it, then do something about it. You get what I'm saying? So even if you take out a $50,000 life insurance, term life, right? That helps to pay for your funeral, pay off your debts,
Invest the other.
right? And then if you have $10,000 left over to leave your child or your wife or your spouse, right? That's doing something. But some people talk about it.
And they don't
Oh,
do
I believe in all of this, but are you really doing it? Did you really do it? So I view those people as well as non-believers in generational wealth. Now, there's a difference, however, if you absolutely cannot afford it.
Roger, I wouldn't say it's non-believers. I think
I'm
I
gonna
think
call.
it
I'm gonna put
goes back.
everybody in because at the end of the day, John, none of these people believe in generational wealth.
education, stigma. People have a misconception of many things. When you say life insurance, people automatically think, "Oh my gosh, you want to kill me?" Or they
Yeah,
get into this sad little.
uh, death.
But it's much bigger than that. It's not. about killing someone off. It's about making sure that your income is protected, making
John,
sure that whoever is part of your family, what you're doing when you actually do that, you are protecting your children to make sure their lifestyle don't change. Your family making sure that their lifestyle don't change. If you are removed out of the equation, you want to make sure that hey, whatever you leave behind is well taken care of. That's what I want to do. So that's why it's so important, so mandatory that hey, what? I want to make sure my children are okay, and that whoever, God forbid, something happened to me, they'll be well off. And
let me give John the last word on this because he was saying something, and then I'll bring our guest on.
The last word is education. Let's just educate. Let's educate our population, our people about financial
later,
literate. Let's make them literate when it comes to their finances. That's all. It's all about educating something and getting out of our comfort zone. So I'm ready for our guest. Who is our guest?
All right, let's bring her on. Uh, Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Hi, how's everybody?
hello.
I was loving the conversation from backstage.
Welcome to the village, Tamia Terry. How are you doing?
I'm good. How is everybody?
Great,
Excellent.
great.
Not as good as you, Miss Terry.
Yes, welcome to
You
the
as well?
village.
So real fast, just everyone, thank you for joining us right here on the Village Talk Show with your host. I'm Roger Daly, with our co-host John Sampson, our co-hostess Dr. Joanne Bryant. Just letting you know, this is the Village. We're dedicated to empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life through education. Success is not just spoken, it is done. What are you doing to be successful? And you can catch us on all gamut of social media, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube. And today we have our guest today is Tamia Terry. I'm proud to say that she's a fellow My 11 graduate.
All right,
Um,
big up, big up, big up.
right. Joanne doesn't know what it's like to graduate from My 11
It's
to me.
okay.
So we
It's
get it
okay.
right.
You can
So
live through us.
right, but she's beginning to feel the love, like feel the love. Like my 11 actually graduates a lot of good people, right, and so forth. And Tamia, also proud to say she was one of my former students, and she's part of the conversation around financial literacy and what is it that we need to do. And what I love is John and Joanne is that look at her youthfulness and to even at this age start thinking about wealth and wealth management. So with further ado, Tamia, go ahead, just introduce the floor, just tell us a little bit what you do and why you here.
Okay, awesome. Well, first, I want to thank you all for me to just have a few minutes on your show just to educate, right? Like spread some information to everybody and my energy and the Meyer Love and Love. A little bit about me. I actually am a financial representative and I work with World Financial Group. Not too sure if you guys ever heard of it before, but I've been on this journey growing my business there for almost 2 years. And prior to that, I was in school for social work. I got my degree in social work. I started to pursue my master's degree. And I knew that I was put on this earth to do something big. It wasn't just to be a social worker, but it was to impact multiple lives on a massive scale. Not just people in Brooklyn, not just people in New York, but to do something really massive across the entire country. And I was eventually introduced to the opportunity where I was able to kind of take my social work skills and apply it to helping families financially and giving them a little bit more peace of mind at the end of the day, giving them education that they never thought they could have learned in their lives, and really just elevating our community, especially Black and Brown people, elevating us all so that we can change the trajectory that we've been living for so many years, right? We want to create generational wealth and end the cycles of generational poverty. So that's a little bit about me in a quick snapshot and what I do briefly.
So, Miss Terry, let's get down to it.
Yes,
You
let's go.
know,
You're like,
let's
now
get
waste
down to
time.
generational wealth. How can we create it?
How can we create it? By educating our people. We have to start
And when
by
you say educating, tell me, I'm coming to you, Miss Terry. Educate me. Tell, tell, tell me what I need to do so I can have as much money as Roderick has. Tell me
so
what I can do.
what you need to do is sit down with a financial representative. No, but seriously, just really taking a deep look at your finances, right? So many people, they understand that finances is important, but they don't know the exact steps to actually make that happen. So to answer your question, if somebody were to come to me and say, hey, how can I create generational wealth? Well, we have to go through your entire finances, right? See what it looks like and create some habits, create healthy habits. Like, we have to make sure that your relationship with money is something that's positive and not negative. Making sure that you have a healthy relationship with money, that you're investing, you're saving, you know how to spend, you know what to buy, what not to buy, discipline. Right? There's so many different things that you can do to make sure that you create generational wealth. And of course, I think number one at the top of the list is one, you have to make really good money and you have to know how to invest it. Right? Because if you don't have money to invest, then I mean, you're back at square zero.
So what you're saying is, Miss Terry, the first thing I have to look at is one, I guess, creating a budget.
Your habits. You have to look at your current habits first. You see what your relationship is like to money. After I sit down with multiple people just throughout the months, I realize that a lot of people have a damaged relationship with money, and that affects the way that they spend.
Do me
That,
a favor,
that's
Ms. Terry. Can you? I'm. People get mad at me for that, but when you say talk about what do you mean by damaged relationship? What do you? I mean, explain to our audience what you're talking about, damaged relationship, and what does that look like? How do you damage a relationship with money? Because it sounds like you're in a love hate relationship, like you're talking to your wife or your husband or your partner, right? So what
right.
does it mean? I mean, it could be what you're talking about, but what does that mean? The damaged relationship with money.
Yeah, so when I first heard that to the term damaged relationship, I was so confused because it's money. How can you have a relationship with money? But these are the things that you learn. And I would say, as an example, is somebody who resents money because they never had any when they were younger. Somebody who doesn't want to accumulate wealth. I know earlier you were talking about people being selfish, right? People that kind of just want to make it through tomorrow because they realize that when they did have money, bad things happened, right? Like maybe they bought a lot of things and they got damaged, or their family had money and they were greedy because of it, or in their family there was a lot of fighting because of too much money, lack of money. So a lot of the times it's your past experiences that will determine your relationship with money. And as a result of that, then you develop certain habits that make you interact differently with money. And that would be one example.
Would you say that living paycheck by paycheck also creates a damaged relationship with money?
Yes. Right? Because you're struggling. Right? Living paycheck to paycheck, you're struggling. You don't get to see the benefits of having that extra couple $100s at the end of your paycheck period. So when it comes time to get paid again and you have $0 in your bank account, you're upset. You're frustrated. You don't understand why your money can't last, right? You never had the experience to test out extra money to see what beauties it can bring in your life.
And that would cause you to depend on the credit cards.
Exactly. And then now we're going into debt, which is where America wants us to be.
But there's nothing wrong with that.
It
If
depends
you
what
could
kind of
pay
debt.
it off.
It depends on what
But,
kind of debt we're talking about, right?
but
Because
exactly, and I think that's what people need to understand. What kind of debt you were talking about? Go ahead.
no, I'm just thinking that majority, yes, for certain people that understand finances and just understand a little bit more about money, it may not be a bad thing, right? Because you can have so many benefits from having a little bit of debt and just paying it off, right? Just using your credit. But look at where most of Americans are. They're not in that position to be able to think like that. So the average person that you see, debt is not a good thing for them.
Because there's ways in which you can use that debt. And basically, it's always good to be liquid. And take for example, some people may want a debt of a mortgage.
Hmm.
And there's certain benefits that you can get from going into debt, buying a house.
Hmm.
There's certain tax breaks you can. and have an opportunity to build the equity up in a home. You know, so debt. I know what you mean overall, but then you got that credit card debt, but you got other debt that can be resourceful.
It's all about education, right? Because not many people know anything about that. You say debt, people think credit cards.
Right.
So we just have to do our part just to make sure that we're educating people full circle so that they understand absolutely everything.
And I think you hit it right on the head, so they can understand full circle about that issue. And I think a lot of people, irrespective of your, and I guess the main source of income for a lot of people are their salaries, and a lot of them fail to take advantage of any sort of profit sharing that the company may have, um, putting deferred comp. So you're right, Ms. Terry. It comes back to literacy, and a lot of people, they just want to live for today. They don't look into the future and understand when I retire, that I want to be able to retire at an age where I can enjoy my life, not work until I'm 75 years old.
You
Right.
hit it.
So it comes down to, yeah, I'm sorry, Miss Terry.
No. I was just gonna tell Joanne to go ahead.
No, he
Go
said
ahead.
he hit it right on the nose when you say that they live in the future. They don't think about the future too much. Many people are living day by day, thinking of today because of maybe paycheck by paycheck situation, and can't see further beyond just today. 5 years from now, 2 years from now, 10 years. Many people during COVID didn't expect COVID to happen and hit them the way that it did, but it did. So if you were not prepared, big trouble. And that's what more than enough of us experience in regards to you're not prepared because you don't have something else saved up on. And all you're waiting on is your job. And unfortunately, a lot of companies went kaput and they couldn't work. And what do you do after that? So, preparing your whole household and making sure that you are um, educating yourself on all aspects of money and financial wealth is important.
Well, Miss Terry, one thing that it's mind-boggling to me is people that don't understand or are not financially literate, but they're willing to go out and pay X number of dollars for brand name items, to just look good, and don't understand the concept of being a homeowner, owning something, so you can build up equity in that something and using that equity to invest. So it's the mindset of people, and sometimes it's because we grew up in a community in an era that shunned investing, or we don't educate ourselves enough about buying stocks, doing certain things. So how can we like how can we get rid of that sort of ideology or thought process?
There's so many things
But-
to say. No, you want something?
No, go ahead, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Okay. I wanted to respond to Joanne, and then I'm gonna move to you, John. But you guys made so many great points in the last couple of minutes. But to your point, Joanne, when you were talking about people that just live day to day, I was just having a conversation with somebody maybe about 2 days ago, talking about exactly this. Prior to learning about financial education, I was a manager at Levi's. I was in school, and I was kind of just thinking about tomorrow, right? Like, phone bills due next month. I have to eat this week. I have to eat next week. And because of that, I wasn't thinking about the future. It wasn't until I actually dove into kind of just learning for myself about financial education that I can go ahead and expand what it was that I was working on. Not only was I then thinking about, okay, I have to eat this week, but also I want to travel with my kids and not have to worry about income, right? In 20 years. Those are the shift that I had to have, but it started with first educating myself and at least becoming a little bit aware. right? So even before the education process, I had to be aware that there was a problem with the habits that I had, right? I had poor spending habits. So I had to be aware of that first. And I tell my clients this all the time, all the families that I sit with. The fact that you are aware is step number one. If we sit down together and you don't see a problem, then I'm not too sure that I can help you with anything, because I can't really open your eyes to something that you're not willing to see. If I show you the numbers and you think that it's okay, then sure, right? At least I did my job in being able to open that up for you and give you the opportunity to see it. So I just wanted to respond that to you. And I also know you mentioned COVID, and it's one of the statistics that I had written down to share with you guys. But during COVID, the pandemic, the average family had $400 in their savings account.
Mm.
That's not
I was one of those.
listen, it's a thing, right? It's actual reality for people. And I don't know about you guys, but living through a pandemic with $400, that has to be tough, right? Just a little bit,
Scary.
right?
Scary.
That's
Scary.
exactly. That's really scary. So there's a huge problem here that, of course, we want to be able to fix. So I wanted to say that in response to you, Joanne. And then in response to you, John, I know you asked, how do we go about almost changing our principles, right? The things that we value. I love this question because I was that person and I transitioned. Trust me, I was getting the new sneakers. I was getting the new handbags. I was getting my nails done every 2 weeks. Like, I was spending money on things that didn't matter. But you know what? I had to surround myself with people that were great examples of being able to have wealth, right? I had the newest sneakers and $0 in my bank account, but I had to be surrounded by a group of people that bought the cheaper shoes and then invested their money, right? I had to be surrounded by that, because where did I learn to buy the newest sneakers? The people that I was around, the environment that I was in, my community, my friends. So it has a lot to do with changing the people that you're surrounded by. And I went through that transition period as well. And this was way more than just transitioning into financial education. This was a growth period for me in my life as a person. Right? Like, I had to transition almost from like a kid to an adult. And one of those things were changing the people that I surrounded myself with. And as I surrounded myself with people who were making upwards of $100,000, right? And people that actually invested their money, I started to latch on. Oh, okay, you don't need those expensive sneakers. I guess I don't need them either. We're going to go get a t-shirt from Target instead of like some other expensive store. Okay, that's cool, right? We spend our money on experiences and we invest the rest.
Interesting. I'm having this conversation a lot with people, right? The idea of materialism and what that looks like, right? Um, I often say to my son, I make the following statement. My oldest, actually all of my kids, I said to them, "It's better to be the best of the worst. No, sorry, the worst of the best than the best of the worst." Which basically is what I remind them of, like what you're saying. If I'm going to be the one making $100,000 in my group, and everybody else made $20,000, I am not. There's no growth.
Hmm?
So it seems to me like you're now making the same conversation, right? That, and I have friends that said you don't need a Gucci fen. All of, not that you cannot treat yourself, but all of your stuff should not. Your money has to work for you.
Right.
Your money has to work for you. So it's okay to once in a while treat yourself. But if you're doing it all the time, then it becomes your habit and your lifestyle. And therefore, and like you say, why am I buying a $250 pair of sneakers when I could buy a pair of sneakers for $100 and invest in 150? That is a growth. Because you know what? If you buy a $150 pair of sneakers today, you see the t-shirt, now you're going to want the belt to go with the sneakers. You don't want the pants to go with the belt. You don't want the shirt or the blouse to go with the pants, because they got to match, right? And you keep moving on, right, from there until you're stuck with no money, right?
I love that you said that. And as you were talking, I was kind of thinking about, okay, well, this goes back to the roots of what makes you happy, right? And again, growth process from a kid to an adult, not necessarily just financial growth, but growth as a person, you have to really think about what makes you happy. I don't think it was the sneakers that made me happy. I think it was the fact that other people were able to see them on my feet and knew that I had them that made me happy. So again, if you changing your associations, right? Nobody in my office cares about what sneakers I have on, right? Like I could wear $10 shoes and they'll say I look beautiful, you know? So really think about what makes you happy as well, because treating yourself can be as small as, I don't know, buying yourself a bottle of wine as opposed to going out and spending $300 on a day out, right? So just really questioning, am I doing this for me, or am I doing this for other people to see what it is that I have?
Great point that you bring out. I love the fact that you mentioned who you surround yourself with will actually influence your decision, which is 100% right. When you notice that many of the millionaires or billionaires, they're not spending $250 on sneakers or wearing the latest t-shirt just because it says whatever. That is so true. And that's why it's important to have different levels of friends, you know. So those that will stretch you to where you need to be, those who are on your level, and those who you're pulling up in the process. So that's important that you surround yourself with, because you're teaching, as you know, those friends that are not on your level yet, you're teaching them on what to do. Those who are on your level, you guys are competing, but it's healthy competition on, okay, let's strive higher. And then the ones that's on top of you, that's higher where you're striving to be, that's, you know, you're getting knowledge from them on what to do.
You
And
know,
increasing that
But
way.
but but can I add even what Deidre's saying? Deidre, who's an RN, says that every 2 weeks she likes to treat herself to things that make her happy. Tomorrow's not promised to us, so I believe that you do need to treat yourself.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, in the process of treating yourself, you can make sure that you have that, what we call residual income, or we have that savings that we can put away for a rainy day. And it could just be meaning out of every paycheck saving $50 or $100, just getting in the mindset of just putting money aside. And it's just like we all see those big water jars, and we tend to put our change into those water jars to save money. Sometimes instead of putting change, we need to put extra dollars in those, in a way to just get us into the practice of putting money aside.
let me just add one thing to what John is saying, and then we can move on because Chris also had a question. Um, so I want to add, there's nothing wrong with treating yourself. The question is, are you treating yourself every day? Right? What are you cutting out? Right? So the facial is fine. The nails, you want to look beautiful. You want to feel good about yourself. But today is the facial, tomorrow the nails, next week is the hair, right? The following week is a new car, the next week, and so forth and so forth and so forth, right? So you're always treating yourself while you're not putting away stuff. So let's be careful the difference between treating yourself and abusing yourself. Lastly, tomorrow's not promised to anyone. That's a fact. The problem is, what if tomorrow comes and you're not prepared? That's where the problem arises, right? Because you have to look at yourself and say, well, my average life expectancy rate as a black man is this, as a white man is this, as a, or whatever ethnic, female, male race that you are. That's my average life expectancy. Sudden death can happen. But
Roger,
let me just finish
jump in.
one thought, right?
Okay.
And that one thought is, I tell people all the time, you only know that you're alive. When you're dead, you have no idea. And no one has come back and told me what death is like. So therefore, I have to prepare for the living while knowing that at any moment I can die. Yeah, John, go ahead.
And what I was going to say, I give an example of my father, and I think sometimes it might be West Indian or Caribbean individuals. My dad didn't think like that. He didn't believe in having a life insurance policy, but my mother had a life insurance policy for him. But what thing that my father did, I remember my father said, you know, I don't believe in life insurance policies, and when I die, you know, you guys can bury me.
And
However,
standing up.
he said, "Y'all guys can bury me," but he says, he said, I have property. I
Mhm.
have property. I have homes. I have equity. You do what you need to do." But at the same time, he had money in the bank. So God forbid anything happened to him, we can bury him, or his kids were in a position that we could take care of it. But what was interesting about my father, although he didn't have a life insurance policy, what he did was he purchased a mausoleum and he paid for his mausoleum. So in one step, he didn't believe in life insurance policies, but in actuality, he did because he paid for his mausoleum. Because one of the most expensive things about when you pass away is actually when you get buried in that ground.
Yes, it is.
Besides, the caskets could be a couple of $1,000 or $2,000, but that plot will run you anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000.
If
It's
not more.
more,
If not more.
more.
Joanne, I think Chris had a question. You want to bring that up for
The question is, what would you pay off first? Student or parent plus loan? Oh, student slash parent plus loan or mortgage?
That's a good question. I was looking at it and I was thinking about it this whole time as I saw it on the screen. And my answer would be it really depends on the balance. It depends on the interest rate and it depends on where you are financially. Right. So normally what we tell our families is of course, you want to go for the thing that has a lower interest rate. Right. So many people think I'm going to pay off the thing that has the biggest balance first, which probably would. Well, it depends on what kind of school you went to. Right. Have really large student loans, but most of the time it's the mortgage. But you want to focus on what has the lowest interest rate first because that is what's going to eat your money up. Now, mortgages is not.
Why not the high interest? Because I always tell people pay off the high interest because you pay more per month.
So you are right. The highest interest rate you want to kill first, right? Instead of the low.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, you were right.
But I think what you were trying to say is the lowest balance to get.
No. I interest.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I actually was telling somebody about this before that there's something called the rule of 72. Have either of you heard it before?
The rule of what?
72.
Of
Yes.
course.
Yeah.
Joanne knows it.
Go ahead and explain.
I'm licensed, so that's why I know.
What do you have your license in?
Life.
Marijuana.
Not at all. Nothing.
So explain to the audience. Tamia, explain to the audience what's the rule of 72.
The rule of 72 is the compounding effective interest. It was created by none other than Einstein. But it tells you the compounding effective interest. So what it is, and I'm going to slow it down just so that if there's anybody out there taking notes or just really want to know what it is. But if you take the number 72 and you divide it by the interest rate that you have on an account, what it will give you is how many years it'll take for your money to double. Right? So the same way we can use it to see how our money doubles, we can also use it reverse, right? We can use it with debt. So let's say, for example, you have, let's say your student loan has an interest rate of like 20%. That's really high, but let's just see. And let me pull up my calculator. So what you would do is you would take the number 72 and you divide it by 20 and you get 3.6. So every 3.6 years, your balance on that student loan is doubling. So you ever realize how interest rates on like investment accounts are really low, but on our credit accounts, they're really, really high? That's why, is because the higher it is, right, the quicker it'll double. So it's in favor to have higher interest rates on things like our debt as opposed to our investments.
Excellent. So basically you're saying to somebody, pay off the high interest rate because it's going to cost you more money in the long run, no matter how much it is.
Yes.
Get it off first and then move on to the next. And then you can actually double up or whatever, use the money that you, but I always tell people when I give them financial advice, if they ask the question is, whatever money that you're using on this card, once the card is paid up, put all of that money on the next card, and don't think that you have free money, but utilize that money to get rid of the rest of your debt.
Right.
So
Yeah.
basically, what you're saying is the lower the interest rate is, the longer it will take for it to double.
Yes.
But the higher interest rate that you have, it will take a shorter period of time for it to double.
Yes.
You know, and I want to add one thing to that, John, and Tamia, thank you for bringing that up, right? Because people have to say, that's why I always tell people, I don't believe in passbook savings. Because like you just do, let's say you go to a bank. Now let's use that same rule of 72, and you can pull out your calculator for that. The average bank gives you like 0.4% interest rate. So what's 72 divided by 0.4? If you have your calculator in front of you. So let people understand why it's not good to put money in savings account as your primary source of investment.
1,800.
1,800 years it takes for you to double your. That means you'll be dead by the time your money's doubled.
Yes.
Now take the same amount and say you're in an investment account of 13.9%, which is an average return on a full investment on the stocks. What would that number be?
5.1.
Again, say that number again. So if you invest the same amount of money in the stock market on average in 5.1 years, your money will double. And how much is it that you put in the savings account again?
You're asking.
Yeah, I'm asking you. You told me what was the number. I want the audience to really understand when we talk about financial literacy, why is this conversation so important? That when you, I don't want to invest in the stock market. I don't want to have a home, right? I don't want to do this. You pay off a home, right? You have that money. That's why you want to pay off your mortgage early. Make an extra payment per year, because if you make an extra payment, it lessens your mortgage by about 11 to 15 years, depends on how much you're paying off. Which means that at that point, your house is only growing interest, right? I don't know if you had said it because I was moving around the studio. I want to go back to something that John said earlier about budgeting. What should go into your budget? I don't know if it was brought up. If it wasn't, please answer it now. If you were, please repeat it.
No, we don't. Yeah, we didn't about it. But everything. I say absolutely everything should go into your budget, and you should have a little bit of play money at the end. So when I do financial reviews with families or my own, right, because I look at my finances every week as well to just make sure that I stay on track, I want to make sure that I'm calculating bills, money for food, money for gas, money for any unexpected thing that may come up, so that when I take money and I go put it in my savings account, that I go ahead and invest that it stays there. I'm prepared for absolutely everything that may come throughout my week, except for actual emergencies, right? That's why you have an emergency fund. But everything else I calculate to make sure that I'm not pulling money from where it should be, which are my savings and investments. So to answer your question, absolutely everything goes into your budget.
And I think what you said, Miss Terry, I think that is so important what you just said. Everything goes in your budget, and you need to do a budget because you can see how you're spending your money, and it gives you an overall picture of where you can save a few pennies here, a few dollars here, and use that money to invest, say, into your 401k, or invest into your deferred comp. So I think what you said was, and you said talk about it, look at it every week. What's important is, like on a weekend or something, just look and see, how am I spending my money? You know, how can I budget myself? What can I put aside for a rainy day? Because there's always a rainy day. Always. There's always something that happens that will, I remember a sewer pipe busted in front of my house. So a sewer pipe, that job cost about $20,000 to do. And you have to be prepared. Everybody's not wealthy like Roderick and the doc. So we have to work hard for our money
You,
and invest it wisely.
I'm going to ignore John's comment on that one, but
Yeah, please.
But you know what's interesting though to me, I remember many years ago when I was doing my budget, I had a line item, literal line item, and I think I brought this up before. And a lot of my girlfriends at the time thought that sounds bad, right? A lot of my girlfriends.
That sounds terrible.
But
Say
Come
that.
on, young
As you would
wife.
say,
Go
as
say
you
it.
would
Oh
say,
my God.
as you would say,
but
Roger, kumbaya.
right? So, but they all thought I was cheap, and I was no, I wasn't. I spent money, but what I did was I started analyzing how I was spending money. Right? So I would put down if I bought a Wrigley's gum for 25 cents, it was in my ledger. I want to know exactly where my money was going. And that's how I found out how I was wasting money. Literally, how I was wasting money. Right. And what was the number one waste of money? I didn't cook. Number one waste of money because every day I was buying either breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or all three.
I'm guilty of that, my friend.
Yeah.
Right. You understand what I'm saying? And then a couple of years ago, I met a man. His name is, he's a financial person. And his name is Kester Hector, right? He has also been a guest on the show. And he brought up something important. If you, over a lifetime, if you took away the money you spent for coffee, the $2 a day, $10 a week, over 30 years of invest that money, you could have over $200,000 just in your financial portfolio if you put that into your IRA, not into the bank, not into a savings account, but into an investment account. That same $10 every day, that $120 a month, or whatever the number comes out to be, for whatever that number is, $80 a month, right? That could net you about $200,000 if you do the investment properly. Right. So that, and it's very important. What's that question on the screen? What do you think about the fact there are over 50 million, 50 millionaires and
Mm-hmm.
who aren't so rich pay a great deal of taxes, who aren't so rich. I'm not sure I understand the question. What do you think about the fact that there are over 50 millionaires and people who aren't so rich pay a great? I'm not sure what the question is saying,
I think
Andre.
Basically, what it's saying is there's so many millionaires who pay less taxes than people who aren't in that situation. And it's because of the tax loopholes that exist that are on the books. They take advantage of, and there's nothing wrong with it. If it's on the books, you're going to take advantage of it.
I definitely want to answer that question, but I also wanted to respond to the points that you made a few seconds ago, Roderick, about just like aware how you had absolutely that's super right because so many people sometimes you sit down with them and they have no clue where their money is going. You do their financial budget and they're supposed to be positive $500, $1,000 at the end of the month. And guess what? They have absolutely no clue where it's going. So it's good to keep track of the things that you're spending on so you can be aware of where it is that your money is going, because sometimes it it just goes like that. It's so easy to swipe your card and just happen to spend $100, $200, $300, right? So I think that's pretty cool that you did that. And it's a really good habit because after some time, it's not going to be as hard as you think. It's going to be, let me sit down for 5 minutes, let me knock it out, and boom, I'm done, right? The first time may take some time and may be a little bit annoying, but you'll get used to it. And to answer the question that was on the screen, I believe he was just saying, um, what do we think about the people that actually have a lot of money and don't have to pay a lot on taxes, so like different tax breaks? And my answer to that is always education. We want to just continue, like, forget the rich people, right? They're going to keep doing their thing. They're going to keep elevating themselves in whatever way they're going to elevate themselves. We have a responsibility to our community to help them get to that millionaire position, right? And one hidden fact that I feel like a lot of people aren't aware about are tax never investments, right? So Joanne probably knows a little bit about what I'm talking about when I say tax never investments. But you want to make sure that you at least have some sort of money in every single area, right? So you want to diversify your portfolio and make sure that you're taking advantage of some tax never investments. That's how we can begin to equalize our opportunities the same way that the wealthy do it. We can stop like being so sad about what it is that they have, what they don't have, or well, what they have, right? Because they have everything, right? And we just have to level the playing field. Make sure that we're upping our competence, our knowledge, our confidence in our financial situation, and utilizing the tools that are out there for us. The only part that sucks is that it's not like information that's widespread. So that's why people like me have a responsibility. Joanne, Roderick, John, I'm sure you guys all feel the same way too, to go out and educate and make sure that we're sharing the same things that the wealthy are using to go ahead to get to our friends and family and our community.
Because it's not being taught in school.
It's not.
We're being taught to become consumers, but not leaders in regards to our financial wealth.
Spot on.
All right. I just want to make sure that I add one concept I want to go back also to what Deirdre Gilt's RN was saying, right? I want to make sure I add that. If you do a ledger, you will find out how many pleasures you have, right? And that affect how you are budgeting. If you got to look at, sometimes people think like this is enough, but again, when you retire, expect to live 20 years after retirement. And you want, and Joanne touched on this earlier, you want to have, either Joanne or John, I don't remember which one, you want to have the same lifestyle that you had, right? So without any change, if not better. If not better, right? So the other thing that I want to talk about, and maybe you talk about this too, again, Tamia, is people who use their children as their retirement fund. And you see a lot of that in poorer communities. You need to take care of me because I took care of you, right? So now it's your job to return the favor of taking care of me. And that's part of that reason, again, that they don't believe in life insurance. They don't believe in, not, and again, when I say don't believe, I mean they don't do anything about it. So it's not just a matter of them not believing, but they're not really doing something about it. So they might believe in it, but don't do anything. And lastly, I want to make sure when I talk about the budget, I want to talk about the positive aspects of the budget too, right? That people actually need to say, go through the hard time and budget this much percentage of your money or your salary. Because remember, you will have to have your savings account for emergencies, like your $20,000 SOAR, right? And then your investment money, which is going to be your lifelong expense. So a couple of things that I touched on there that we can discuss.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you brought up just like retirement and things of that sort. I had two statistics that I wanted to share about that, and one of those is that 64% of Americans are not prepared for retirement. Right?
How many? What percentage?
64 are not prepared for retirement. And on top of that, right, so the people who are prepared, the average 401k balance in 2019 was $65,000. In 2020, $91,000. The average balance for people retiring. I don't know about you guys, but I can't live off of $100,000 in retirement, right? And that's
for the rest of your life.
Exactly. So I don't know how many people actually feel comfortable. Well, I'm sure so many people think that it's something that they deserve, right? Because they took care of their kids, but it's them becoming a burden on their children, right? Like their children's income is not meant to go ahead and prepare somebody else for retirement. I mean, of course, different circumstances, right? But for the most part, we should be doing what we need to do to make sure that we can retire well and not retire with only $100,000 in our account. So that was just the two statistics that I wanted to share, but I definitely think it's selfish of some people to not think about their retirement. And it's different if you don't think about it because you don't know, and it's different if you think about it and you use your kids as an excuse or a free pass.
Excellent. You know, the other thing that people tend to, and why this conversation is so important, is people believe that Social Security, you can live off Social Security. What is your, as a financial advisor, What do you talk about that? Oh, I see she bending over, John. It's like something she wanted to talk about. All right, I'm listening.
This book,
Ah,
Hour of Zero. I'm not too sure if any of you have like ever heard of it, ever read it, by David McKnight, but definitely get it. I'm not too sure if I can find the page so quick. But in this book, it talks about just our financial stability as a, here we go, as a country, right? And it talks about the four things that the country spends a lot of their money on, right? So Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, and debt. That is where 92% of the American dollar goes. And then on the
Social
next,
Security, Medicaid.
Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, and national debt. And then on the following page, I want to see if you guys can see it. But everywhere you see like that red, those are all of the things that the remaining cents have to go towards. Right? So if 92 cents are going to those four things, the remaining 8 cents has to go to things like child nutrition, drug enforcement, pensions, income assistance, everything, all of those things. So if somebody tells me they want to depend on the government for their retirement, then I'm going to whip out this page. I might send them the book for free, but go read it, because that's not a safe place to just put all your eggs in one basket. Where we're heading as a country financially is not pretty. And especially with the pandemic and all of the debt that we put ourselves into, it's not free money, right? So we're almost damaging our economy for our future. So when people say, oh yeah, I have Social Security, I have my pension, oh yeah, how comfortable are you putting all of your money there? How comfortable are you saying that you can live your entire retirement off of the government? You trust the government that much? Yeah. Right? So that's my response, is educate on where our economy is as a whole, as a country, from this book. And then make some informed decisions, because you want to, again, diversify your portfolio. You don't want to depend on Social Security.
So I have a question for you. What is your vision and your last thoughts?
Yes. So my vision, that's pretty big. But my vision is, like I said, to have a massive impact. What I'm really truly focused on is teen advocacy within our country. So I want to make sure that that is my main focus, that I'm using the financial industry as a tool to help push me towards where I really want to be. And at the same time, I want to open up multiple offices within the financial industry, because this is something that we cannot live without. Finances may not be everything, but it definitely gives you opportunities, freedom of your time, right? It allows you to buy back the time with your family. So to wrap it all up, my vision specifically, I want 2 offices of my financial industry life in every single state. I want my nonprofit organizations for teen advocacy to be all across the country. And I want to make sure that we expand both of those things outside of the country, into different continents, into different countries, to make sure that we're not only making an impact in the US, but we're changing the world.
Thank you.
Um,
And that's my final thought.
we didn't get to touch on it, but I think we have about 30 seconds. I don't know if you can do it. Why is it important for people to like own businesses?
Passive income. You can rely on yourself, right? At the end of the day, you don't have to trust a boss to sign off on your paycheck. You sign off on your own paycheck.
And that's I tell people that's what people get when you saw like these millionaires who have these major write-offs is because they own their own business. And they can write a lot of things off that you, the average person, the middle class, cannot write off. Right? John, you have any final? I know you stepped off for a minute. Do you have any final questions for her? She has to go. She has another appointment. So,
My final question is to we want you back on this show, because I think what you are espousing is so important. Financial literacy, and just so people can start preparing for the future. And you said something that's profound: relying on the government. 92%, is concentrated on 4 areas, and there's only 8% left. And you just think about that. That's so profound. So you
And
can't rely on the
and
government.
yeah, go ahead.
You can't rely on the government for anything. So it's all about the best person to rely on is yourself.
Absolutely.
Again, the rich take care of themselves, and the middle class take care of everybody.
Exactly.
Right.
So I thank Miss Terry. I thank you very much for the knowledge that you imparted with us today.
Of course, thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to tuning in more in the future, chatting it up more with you all, and changing the world together.
Where can people reach you?
You can, I don't know if they can see like my Facebook profile through here, but definitely Facebook. And if you Google my name,
What is your Facebook? Go ahead.
It's just Tamia Terry.
Okay.
And if you Google my name and revolutionfinancialmanagement.com, my website will show up. I have my email there. My phone number is on there. Just Google revolutionfinancialmanagement.com, Tamia Terry.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us on The Village.
Thank you so much.
All right. Where are we? So get that was beautiful.
We can't hear someone. Go ahead. Say what you were saying.
No, I'm just saying that it's beautiful for people to understand. I know sometimes it's a boring conversation because people get uncomfortable when you start talking about money, especially their own. Right? But it's great to actually see that you can actually have money. It doesn't take a lot to have money, especially if you start young. So, so it's good for Tamia to come on and share her vision, share her thoughts. But my biggest takeaway is the importance of budgeting. One of my biggest takeaways, that was one of them. The importance of why you need to budget and really analyze your budget and see what's going. And also the rule of 72. What are your thoughts? You're both muted.
Well, you know what? I think that rule of 72. I mean, to break it down, if we can be demonstrative, so people can actually see. You can practice that rule, and you can see exactly what we're talking about. And also the point about the 92% and the 8%. So when are we going to make an attempt to educate ourselves regarding our finances? We can live paycheck to paycheck, but as long as we're putting something aside for a rainy day.
But if you're putting something aside, you're really not living paycheck to paycheck, John. Because
even if you're living paycheck to pay, you try to save a couple of dollars here.
Right. But if you do it over a period of time, now in a short term, yes, you're living paycheck to paycheck. But over a long period of time, right, 20 years, no longer living paycheck to paycheck because that you're making your money work for you. You understand what I'm saying? So, like the first few years when you really, like, especially young people, that's why I always say to adults, to parents, stop kicking your kids out of the house because they turn 18, and stop telling your child that when they're 18 years old, they're grown. You can leave now because the children are going to feel themselves because society has said to them that you're 18 years old, right? And you're grown. But in reality, first of all, the kid's supposed to be doing something, right? Whether it's college, career, readiness, or this stuff, not working at McDonald's, not working at this, at that point as your full-time career, unless it's a pathway to something. Right. So, because you could become a manager at McDonald's and make good money. They do college tuition reimbursement, but it should not be. I'm moving down to my parents' house because I'm working at McDonald's. Right. Alone right now, you want to go live is 150, and I'm gonna be the basic $150 for a room. Mm-hmm. Right, a week. Right, what do you make? $15 an hour at McDonald's, after taxes and so forth, and they don't want to give you full time because you have to do medical. Let's get real. You work in a McDonald's, you're going to school, perfectly fine. Get that tuition reimbursement because you know what? Ain't nothing like free money. Money you don't got to pay back. So you're getting $3,000, you take it. Go to the military, right? Get your 6th credit. Go to the armed forces. Go to the fire department. Whatever you need, and start creating that wealth. That's when you can say, okay, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. But if I'm living at home, put away that rent money. Put on that $800, $900 a month that would cost you for rent, and you'll be surprised. After 5 years, $900, you put it in the right investment, you have close to $100,000 in the bank if you do it properly after 5 or 6 years. If you do it properly, and again, it's a big if, right? So that's important, right? And again, I as parents, stop reminding your kid, oh, you're 18, right? Yeah, I like that star guide. The rule of 72 is a very good rule.
Rule of 72, absolutely.
Yeah. On that, so people really have to know that. So while we actually talk about the police force, I wanted to go back to some of the things we were talking about at the beginning, right? And one of my friends sent something to me that's very interesting. That how he identified a police officer that was getting cursed out at the Pride Parade a couple of weeks ago while they were cursing out the black officer. And they were talking about within the other communities of color, they're not getting cursed out. But I do see a lot of, I don't know if it's just a perception, a media perception, right? That it's a lot of within the African American black, I hate using the word African American, but within the black community, there's a lot of hate against cops, whether it's media perceived or whatever the case is, more so than in other communities. And so it also makes it bad for blacks to join the force because one, it's looked upon as a negative thing to do, but at the same time, you want to have community policing of people looking like you. You can't have it both ways.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that was based on a conversation we had last week as well. John and I were talking about, also you were there. We were talking about defunding the police that caused a bigger issue in regards to your career, and people taking it turned into a bigger thing than just defunding the police. What does that mean? How does it impact our community? What impact that it have on children or young people going into that field? How is it impacting morale? Retirement, how you have so many police officers who are running to retirement right now because they don't feel safe and guarded. So that all is part of it too. And as we speak about that, the ruling on George Floyd also triggered other things, like defacing the statues. That was a big thing last week. The defacement of the statue in Jersey, the one in Brooklyn. I didn't even know that they had one in Brooklyn until they presented it on Juneteenth, and it was defaced the day before the verdict for Chauvin came out. So there's so much that's attached to that. Hey, white supremacy is still around. They feel as though, hey, you know what? We're still going to do what we want to do. So we have a big problem with race in the United States. We do.
Joe, I don't think ever in America you have equality with it. It's not going to happen.
Right.
You can move towards it, but I don't know that it's going to happen. So my thing is always, it's not us against them, right? It's not us against them, but more, what are we doing to ensure that we're doing better? And that's where it goes back to the police, right? And bringing awareness to the issue and moving forward. I have to join these elite societies. I have to get into the police club. I have to stop them from happening. So we're going to push it. But you know what? In 2016, they were talking about the election with Hillary and Donald Trump, right? And a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm going to vote for Hillary," but they were leaners, just like a lot of racist people, right? You have they're leaners in front of you, they're your friends, but behind you, they don't like you. But it's not everybody, and the problem is you can't group everybody in the same category, right? Because I know I have genuine white friends, genuine, and I have disingenuous black friends. So I know that. Well, I wouldn't even call them friends, but I know that I have black people around me who are disingenuous, and I have white people around me who are genuine. And also, for me, I rather know that you're a racist. You're not what is the term? You're not a frenemy, right? You're not a frenemy, and you have a lot of blacks who will cut your throat faster than a white man would. So sometimes when we're looking at it, and so again, is a whole bunch of stuff that we have to look at, right? Not just racism, but what are we doing about it to perpetuate the issue, and how are we not make, because I do believe, John, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I do believe we could make people racist or bring out the racism in people of what they're trying to suppress. Maybe I'm not saying it right, but if you have a person who consistently spew hatred to you, you're going to start feeling a negative way about that person.
Well, first we have
I don't know if I'm saying it right, but maybe you could correct my term or whatever it is.
Well, first of all, we have individually we have a lot of bias, but with what you're hearing and seeing will trigger anger, and with anger it turned into hate, and it turned into ignorance bigger than that. So when you feel as though you're not getting I know that, oh gosh, there was just something on the screen that Andre put up. Equality. When you feel as though you are the victim all the time, we need equality of opportunity, equality of outcome is not a possibility. That's what he wrote. But when you feel as though you're always the victim, you're going to do something to change that dynamic. And unfortunately, many times people are saying, I'm tired of feeling a certain way. I'm tired of being, the one left behind. But you go about in channeling the anger the wrong way, where you go about in attacking your own. So when we have black on black crimes, hey, I was angry about this, but then you go and shoot this person, that doesn't make it equal. That doesn't solve the problem. So yes, many things can trigger that hate, that anger, that frustration of not being able to be heard or be able to do something about your situation. But the end result, the way that you target and harness that energy makes the difference.
Yeah, I was also, thank you for touching on that, right? Because one of the things that people, like, something happens in Brooklyn, just for argument's sake. You go into the black neighborhood where the black people are working, and you go and you destroy that business, right? You go through, who did you make lose their job, right? It's not like you went into Derek Chavin's neighborhood and go burn his house. I'm not telling you to do that. That's not what my argument is, right? My argument is you didn't go destroy his livelihood. You went into your own community and destroyed the livelihood of your brothers and sisters who no longer have a job, who no longer can pay their mortgage, right? So I'm glad you touched on that. That people, you have to really start thinking about, how do you hurt a person? What did Dr. King do? Boycott. You boycott certain things that will affect. Nothing hurts a person more, make you come to an understanding, than the green, right? If you take away the green, they can't pay their mortgage. It's a problem. I see, like, the community board, like I saw local community board voted against having a property in the neighborhood that all the owner did was sold the property. Literally, that's what the owner did. The owner sold the property, made a few $1 million off the property, and the owner was a European American, sold the property, made a few million, and everybody who had a business that leased from him, they were out of a job. So the community board voted against them person getting re-upping their whatever it was. I don't remember what it was. Re-upping their ability to own the property, right? And they shut down the property, sold it, and out of business. You're actually hurting yourself when you really think about some of the things that you're doing within your own community.
The bottom line is that we act on emotion instead of using our intellect.
Yes.
It's very simple, as we always say, is that while you are playing checkers, I am playing chess. And we don't use our strength in order to dictate who, when, and what we want. We are too emotional instead of being strategic in accomplishing what we need to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And that is our problem. We are too busy claiming that we are the victim instead of understanding is how do we use that status to prevent us from being the victim again.
You know what I was thinking about just now, John? As you're saying that, I've never seen the Ku Klux Klan. I've never heard about the Ku Klux Klan going about and wiping out another Ku Klux Klan member. You don't see it, right? And so within our community, we're wiping each other out.
And the best example of what are we doing in wiping everybody out is looking at our elections. When you have the progressives and you have the socialists,
You might
you
laugh.
have the Democrats, you see what is actually going on. You see this whole, everybody talks about this race, this ranked choice voting. You know, what is the benefit of ranked choice voting? And who is the benefit? We got to understand, and we fail to, and we always get duped into thinking something is going to provide access for us, something is going to be more democratic. Basically, what you're saying is you're giving us the ability.
We don't hear you no more.
His phone is going off.
You can hear me now? You basically you allowed us to be duped again.
Hey, John, on the Republican side of the race for mayor, there are two candidates, so there's no ranked choice voting. On the Democratic side, there were, 12 candidates?
Yeah.
13.
Why do everyone want to be in power?
Yeah.
And not support each other? That's my thing.
And look, even with the January 6th insurrection, as we talk about politics, right? Look at the January 6th election. 2 Republicans voted to have a committee to investigate what happened. All of the 190 Republicans stood together, right? Again, why? If wrong is wrong, because I personally believe there needs to be an independent investigation. But they're like, oh, it's enough. The Democrats, in this particular case, they did. But it's just to show they don't even break foul. But why are we trying to always agree or not agree? You know, let's tone it down. Let's be in power. Let's divide up amongst ourselves. We can't say let's unify behind whomever you want to unify.
And stop being kumbaya. We need to be ruthless, like the Republicans are ruthless. We need to be ruthless,
right?
You know, and if they didn't, if they haven't learned
without fear,
exactly. If they did not learn from that whole Supreme Court debacle, that is again, the Democrats are always busy playing checkers, while the Republicans are always playing chess. The hell with bipartisanship. The Republicans, we are so steady on being bipartisan. The hell with being bipartisan. I'm going to slam it down your throat so you can understand how principled we are when it comes to something that impacts all of us. And you know what? Another thing that bothers me is everybody talks about this voting rights, voting rights, voting rights, voting rights. Everybody talks about, oh, you're trying to take our voting rights away from us. How are you trying to do that? You know what? Let's just do what we need to do. That is, they're going to continue to put obstacles in our way every time we learn the system. So let's just keep learning the system. And not only learning the system, create a system that we can do better. Forward thinking.
And stop saying that, oh, that's why I don't vote. Because now that's why I don't vote. That adds to the point of them trying to take away your right. If you don't utilize it and I take it away, why are you mad?
And we make every obstacle, oh, it's raining. We don't want to go in the house.
Yeah,
it's raining.
Why? And so,
oh gosh, I'm gonna get wet.
Florida.
Oh gosh, too late. I gotta watch my show.
Do you know that there are more Democrats? There are more Democrats. What is it called? Registered Democrats, numerically speaking, than there are Republicans.
Yeah, but you know what? They are more serious when it comes to the participation in
government.
This process.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They see the benefit of being a part of it.
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. That is exactly what I am saying.
And that whole rank, you know what? The whole ranked choice voting, you know, for a person to not only win round one and to win all the 9 rounds and still being subject to the absentee ballots, there's a question of whether he can win or whether he cannot win. At that point in time, people spoke already. People spoke and said, this is what individual that we want. However, we're giving more of a chance, and everybody thinks it's democracy. You're not creating democracy like you think you're creating democracy.
Confusion.
You're not only creating confusion, but you're diminishing the power of the minority vote.
And guess who brought up this idea of ranked choice voting? The damn too far left progressive, my foot. And we all fall for this foolishness.
All the time we fall for
and then guess what? And I was duped too, so I'm not even gonna be a hypocrite, right? Or I thought it might have been a good thing, right? Because I fell for the media hype. When you know what, in my head, I'm like, if I vote for Joanne and I didn't vote for John, what does it matter who I voted for second? They have they have to do this and do that. Then have a runoff between these two people. Call it a day. Right? Yeah, Andre. It is about the court of public opinion that affects us.
Yeah, it's the court of public opinion, but the misinformation that is disseminated to the people of public opinion. Because I'm telling everybody, I and make no bones about it, Eric Adams is first place. Eric Adams is first place about all the counts. Now we're looking at absentee ballots. Catherine Garcia is in third place.
No, she's in second now.
No, she's in second, but on election night she was in third place.
Right.
Now for her to be in a position to possibly become the mayor because of giving the people so many options, which is the options to be democratic.
I'm not going to object to the absentee ballot because I think that everybody has.
No, right. I'm not objecting to the absentee ballot, but I'm objecting to the whole point of ranked choice voting. Why? You know, they always say, make a decision. Decide what candidate that you want. Don't give me 5 chances to decide. I don't want you. I want this person, but how I want this person second. I want this person third. I want this person fourth. So give us all. So you know what? Give us 5, 6 choices on everything in life. Then let us choose. They always say make a decision.
Hey, let's put 5 salaries on top of the table when you go for a job.
Exactly. But irrespective of the mayor's race, I'm not even. You know what? I'm just using that.
It's not just the mayor's race, though.
What? It's not even the mayor's race. What I'm saying is, we need to stop being duped. Everybody talks about public opinion. Always remember this. When people of color learn how to play the game, they always want to change the rules.
And we allow it.
And we allow it because we say, oh, public opinion. Let me tell you something. The one thing that we need to do, we need to be able to control the media. We need to be able to control our own narrative, our understanding. That's something that we don't do. Why do you think Fox News has been so successful? Because if you look at everything now, Fox News is the #1 cable network because they control the narrative.
And they stick
to it. They are not wishy-washy like Democrats are.
Right.
Their goal is, I want power by any means necessary, because I can create the rules, and those rules can last for a considerable period of time to put us in positions to establish generational wealth.
Yeah, absolutely. And keep not only just generational wealth, but keep the power. And so two things are important in America, and until we begin to start utilizing that, is one is power and money. Power and money, they go together. People give up some money to have power, right? Look at Bloomberg. He gave up. He was worth $4 billion. He came out and make it worth 22. He made 400% more money while as a mayor taking $1 a year. Moving on very quickly, right? So there are a couple of things that happened that we didn't discuss last week. One of them was the Derek Chauvin sentence. What do you think? You think that 22.5 years was a good, bad, or indifferent? Let's start with Joanne. What's your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts?
Well, of course not. But that's the highest that they can give, so-called give. They could have gave him the full. Because just like if we look at Bill Cosby, they would have gave him, if it was him, they would have gave him, life in prison. So different rules for different folks. That's how I look at it.
Hey,
White,
you know what? Go ahead, Doc. I'm sorry, Doc.
It's not the same thing. You will not get, if it was a black officer who did that to a white man, the result would not be the same. It would be life in prison or the death penalty. So unfortunately, it is what it is.
Well, I'm not going to.
I would say, just being a person who has been justice impact, I would tell you this. One day is too much to spend time incarcerated. You're looking at 22 and a half years. The man is 40-something years old. This is what sometimes what people call, as I said, piling on. He's spending 22 and a half years in jail. And it ain't going to be a rose garden in those 22 and a half years. You know what? Injustice was served. There was a decision based upon, and the judge made a decision. A lot of times, we are always on the short end of the stick of people of color, and it's true. We get looked upon totally different. But I think in this instance, justice was served. He has 22 and a half years. And mind you, that he still has a federal case going on. And he's looking to cut a deal where it will run. He will possibly plead to those charges and accept 25 years. So he can spend 25 years in a federal prison. But always remember, Derek, if once he accepts this plea and he goes into federal prison, he has to spend 85% of that 25 years. 85%. However, under state law, he would get out substantially earlier after doing 2/3.
Mm-hmm.
So he spends substantially more in the federal than in the state.
because the state is 11 years on good behavior,
And he could come out and
No,
if as
no,
long
no,
as it's
it's
good behavior.
15 years.
Right, so.
Mhm.
Did they say
So
that?
under federal
Yeah.
time, you got to spend 85% of you have to spend 85% of your time. At a certain period of time, you can be eligible for halfway house, but he would max out after 85% of of his time.
And you know,
And
and
85% of 25 years is do the math, Roger.
yeah, I got it. It's 21 and a half years around that.
Exactly.
Around 21 and a half years. Right. You know, it's just kind of crazy. What else is in the news?
Our Vice President Kamala Harris in her office, man. What's going on with man? There's a lot of dysfunction going on. They've got staff talking about how it's a cesspool it's a cesspool of indecisiveness. What's going on?
And then she finally visited the border on Wednesday, on Friday. Actually, Friday the 26th, she visited the border finally. Was it 26th or the 25th? One of them 2 days. I don't remember what it was that she visited the border finally. You know, and this only came from after. So it's like the Biden, and that's what we're talking about, the difference between Republicans and Democrats. No matter what the court of opinion was, they weren't changing what was happening at the border. Now, like you're saying, John, the wishy-washy, the court of public opinion,
Of course.
they scribble to opinion.
Let me tell you, the Republicans don't care about the court of public opinion.
No,
The way they operate is we're going to operate this, whether you like it or not. At the end of the day, our base is going to understand and they're going to appreciate it. That whole Supreme, if you didn't learn from that whole Supreme Court okey doke they pulled on us, then you'll never learn.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're not, you know what, the Democrats are not going to learn. And I'm saying this out loud because I am, you know, I look at voting and what it is, you know, things that happen. What else? So we talked about the stop. Yeah.
Right. Also, the city is opening up. But here's the thing. Now they're going back and forth in regards to the mask mandate. What is going on with that? 1 minute they say, hey, you know what? You can take off your mask. The next minute, now they're saying, well, with this new virus, this new COVID,
Or the new strand, the Delta strand.
yeah, they want to reconsider the whole mask. But then, you know, the mayor says you don't have to wear a mask anymore. If you're vaccinated, you don't have to social distance. You don't have to wear a mask. You're good to go. And that applies to schools now. So I'm like, okay, that's very interesting. So,
Hey, the way I look at it is, it's like buying insurance. Why do you buy insurance for your car? Not because you're concerned about your driving, you're concerned about the next person. So as a result of that, I'm going to wear my mask because I have to worry about the next person who may not take all the precautions that I take. So unless I'm around people who have been vaccinated, who have taken the necessary precautions, I will wear my mask. That's how I make that determination.
You know, you know, that is an excellent point. First, you know, I think sometimes like the mask, people is a little bit overboard, and sometimes it's not, right, when they use it. The other thing that's in the news, we have a few more minutes. The NCAA funding for college students, right? So the Supreme Court ruled last week against the restrictions on education-related perks for students, right? Because you talk about the NCAA raked in billions of dollars, one of the richest organizations, right? From athletes. While the athletes, if you get a car, if you get a this, if you get a that, you lose your scholarship, right? Because they want everything for free. So I'm glad that the NCAA decided that athletes can break from their own benefits. Because, you know, for a lot of athletes, John, you know, myself as a college athlete, not at the D1 level, but I understood from the get-go that even if I did a commercial related to my sport, I could lose everything. I can't participate. Right? Even if I played in a tournament that something with my name on it, you would lose money. So I'm glad that they have made
The ruling.
some ruling on that college athletes can make something of their names. Because again, for a lot of athletes, after the NCAA, that's it, nothing more.
But guess what? Now they're starting to, at first they were upset about the ruling, but they have to change their tune. They said, hey, you know what? We are actually recommending that college athletes be allowed to profit off names. So, now we'll see competition. Competition. We'll see.
Yeah, well, it's not so much the competition, but it's not
No,
just it's not
it
just.
will.
I'm saying it's not just a competition, but it's also the ability to help finance their lives, right? You get what I'm saying? So the NCAA will always make money because when it comes to March Madness, college football, they're gonna make money. The college World Series. I mean, that young lady out of James Madison, that black woman, and the highlight. I don't remember her name now, but watching you think ESPN is ESPN, TNT, TBS.
Mm-hmm.
You really think they're going to lose money? They're not going to lose money, but it's time to spread the wealth.
That's true.
Stop scrutinize at such level these athletes who really, again, and a lot of these athletes are people of color, right? Are people of color. A lot of them are people of color in coming out of poor neighborhoods who looked at sports as a way to help them move forward.
So you just mentioned the lady from James Madison. One of our viewers says, what about retroactive payment for those that were denied compensation for their work? Like the lady in
well, no retroactive compensation unless they indicate that in the law or the Supreme Court has indicated there can be no retroactive. It's all prospective.
But I think that the group of individuals who sued, though, John, because there were a group of individuals who sued, that's why this came about. They might be able to get some if they're part of the class action suit.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're part of the class action suit, the one that brought it out and people signed on to it, they can make money off that, but it won't be.
But as a part of the suit, but the suit does not. Let's talk about those individuals, but any other individuals doesn't apply retroactively. It's prospective.
Right.
So if one ruling comes out, do you not think that others lawsuit will be following along?
Others lawsuits will be followed going on, but prospectively, if they do things, yes, but retroactively, unless the court indicates that.
Okay.
Right. And you can't be tried twice, right? So once the ruling is done by the Supreme Court, it is the rule.
No, but it can only be changed via legislation.
Right. That's why you have the three branches of government.
Well,
yes, sir.
So we're going into 4th of July weekend. So please, people, be safe out there. No craziness. Every time I think of 4th of July, I think of the gentleman I used to sing for.
Jason Pierre-Paul, the football player.
What? No, not him. I didn't used to sing for him. I was talking about gospel artists that got his wife and his grandchild died on 4th of July.
Right.
Yes, Timothy Wright. Yes. So every time I think of 4th of July and these crazy drivers out there, going into the weekend, please, viewers and listeners, just be safe out there. Please, if you decide you're gonna drink, don't drive. And please, there's no reason for you to be doing 100 on a highway for no reason.
And you know what? If you're gonna smoke weed, don't smoke weed while driving.
That's
true, John. I agree with you.
Just blow it on.
Just a kumbaya moment.
With that, I'm reminded of a joke that somebody told me once. Right? it's opposite what Joanne is saying, but just remember, ladies and gentlemen, only people don't drink on 4th of July get into accidents, right? Because they drive straight while you are driving crooked if you're drunk. Just think of that. Like Joanne, it's like you get it. Just be careful out there. Just be crazy. I mean, there's nothing wrong with socializing, having a good time, right? Because I'm going to a couple barbecues this weekend, just the same like everybody else. But I'm just saying, just be careful because there are innocent people on the road. Don't be selfish. Don't be selfish and think that you are above reproach. Right?
I agree, man.
I'm never going to tell anybody not to drink, but if you know you're a drinker and a drunkard, have a designated dryer.
And also, I want to send a shout out to Miss Daly. I wish her a happy belated birthday.
Yeah.
God bless her.
A wonderful woman to deal with you, Roderick.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I am, she's, I heard about having.
As Miss Daly, kumbaya to you, Miss Daly.
Yeah, Eddie.
God bless you.
Mr. Gentile, it was great seeing you as well on Tuesday. I remember I began the show talking about that Jermaine had his graduation, first one. So I got to see a few people actually who I hadn't seen in a while. Some people I said hello. I got a chance to say hello to. But that graduation was good seeing Eddie. John, he was actually at my 11 as a teacher. Do you remember him from my 11 when you were there?
Who's that?
Eddie Gentile.
Oh yeah. I know you're talking about. Yeah.
He was. We were hanging out on Tuesday at the thing. Oh crap, John, you're. I don't know if Andre took the banana bread and your banana bread to the house. See,
oh my goodness, the banana bread, the Brooklyn banana bread. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, I never liked banana bread, but he has turned me into a banana bread fan. I have to give it up to the Brooklyn banana. Oh my goodness, the packaging, the taste, it was amazing. He kept his word. Let me tell you.
Doc, I'm gonna get some of that banana bread.
Is at the house?
You want?
I'm gonna drive by the house and pick it up. You don't want?
And I'm gonna create a nice package for you and call it Brooklyn marijuana.
Brooklyn marijuana bread. Kumbaya, man.
Lord have mercy
on you, until you try some of the good stuff.
No, I'm not ready. I'm not interested. Thank you. I'm gonna keep
banana bread with the marijuana twist.
I pass.
Meredith, I'm telling you.
Yes, you have to try. It does not taste like banana bread at all. It really, really is.
Yo, Darren, I'm coming to get my food, man. Don't mess with my banana bread.
Really.
It's right there. It's in the dining room.
All right.
I'm gonna be
by the house and pick it up.
No, I'm coming tomorrow and get my food, man. I'm coming tomorrow.
Yeah, come get it. It is that good. It's that good. Ladies and gentlemen.
Bread.
Right. It is awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you again for joining us right here on The Village Talk Show with your host, yours truly, Roderick Daly, our co-host, John Sampson. And Meredith, I'm going to answer your question, right? Go to brooklynbananabread.com. brooklynbananabread.com. And it's also in support of the first responders.
And our other co-hostess, Dr. Brian.
I'm gonna get there. It's brooklynbananabread.com. Okay, and it's in support of those people from COVID as well. So that he was raising money for doing that.
Smoke the weed.
Right. So our co-hostess, Dr. Joanne Bryan, you're right here on the Village Talk Show. It's dedicated to the community, to empower the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life through education.
Yes.
Helping each one of us in realizing our dreams at any age, at any point, starting from today. Yeah. Knowing that success is not just spoken, it is done. What are you doing to be successful? Are you just talking about it, or are you doing something about it? We will see you next week, Thursday, And again, God bless each one of us. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us today. God bless. See you next week. And enjoy your
God
cooking.
bless.
Be safe this weekend, people.
Be safe. Enjoy your family, your friends, and most of all,
God. Thank you.
amen. Amen.
And make sure, John, that they do what this weekend? At least a little bit. What is it?
Puff, puff, pass.
Puff, puff, pass. Puff, puff, pass. And then you skip Joanne. All right. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. God bless.